With a new model arriving from DJI very soon, now is the best time to buy the original Mavic Pro because prices are at rock bottom. If it's your first drone, the most common question we receive is, what do I do next? Well, this guide will help you set it up and get ready for your first flight. This is part one, where we'll show you what to expect when you unbox your Mavic. We'll also explain what each part is for and also introduce the drone itself to explain its features, the sensors that it has and where they are, as well as its construction. In part two, we'll show you exactly how to set up your Mavic ready for its first flight, any gotchas including preparation, calibration, software installation, and tips and tricks. So give this video a thumbs up and of course click that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Enjoy the video and be sure to comment below with any questions that you might have whilst you're watching. Look at the size of this gigantic box, and the only clue of what's inside is written on the top very faintly, the future of possible. The future of possible. That doesn't actually make a lot of sense. Links to the exact product that I bought and instructions on how to get it at that price are in the video description. I'm always a big fan of nice packaging for products like drones. And it does give a really good first impression. Look at this, removing the foam, and there is the Mavic. Now, if you've not yet seen a Mavic in person and felt it yet, you will be shocked at just how small this thing is. You see pictures of it on the internet all day long, all over the place, and you just naturally assume the size of it. But when you actually have this in your hands, it really is tiny. We'll move on to that in more detail shortly, but let's first of all just see what else is in this box. So we've got this lovely leather bag, and this is not a cheap little carry case. This feels really, really premium and plush. It does feel like real leather. Does it smell like it? Yeah, it actually smells like real leather. Beneath this cover here, 2 batteries. The batteries come only partially charged, which is normal. That's basically so that it's not good to ship LiPos fully charged. They send them on a kind of storage level. So that's everything that comes in the box. Let's have a look now in more detail at the Mavic and also the accessories that came with it. So we're going to start with batteries. Now, the common misconception is that the FlyMore combo package only comes with 2 batteries. Actually, it comes with 3. You'll notice that there is a battery fitted to the Mavic in the box. So the 3 batteries in total give you 27 minutes flight time each, although realistically you can expect more of a 25-minute flight time depending on how you fly. The batteries are 3S, which means 3 cells, and they're 3,830 milliamps. It's incredible considering how lightweight and small these batteries are, just how much capacity has been squeezed into that. The Mavic Platinum gives you up to 30 minutes flight time because it has optimized speed controllers, which are the components inside the Mavic that control how the motors operate. The Platinum also has optimized props, which means you get much quieter flight. However, optimized props which do fit this are not necessarily going to give the original Mavic a longer flight time, but it will make it quieter. We're now going to look inside this lovely plush leather bag that comes with the Mavic combo package. We first of all get a carry handle for the bag. We get a battery to power bank adapter. Now this is basically so that if you're on the move and you need to charge up a mobile phone, you can simply plug this into one of the Mavic batteries and then you can use the Mavic battery as a portable power bank. We've got a power adapter transformer charging brick, that's for charging the batteries. This is nice, we've got a charger for the car. So you plug this into the cigarette lighter on the car and basically that then lets you charge your batteries whilst on the move. We've got a USB cable, pretty standard that, an instruction manual. Charging hub, this is really cool as well. This lets you charge 4 batteries at the same time. So if you are on holiday or you've got a shoot coming up or you're going out for the day, you're not going to have to wait for each battery to charge individually. This is the exciting bit, the transmitter. So very nice and portable, this little unit here, and we'll have a look at that in more detail later. Here we've got a little USB OTC cable, and this goes between the transmitter and between your smart device. I've actually got 2 of those, and that is about it. So that's everything inside the bag. Finally, in this front pocket, we've got a set of spare props. This again is really nice that you get in total 8 spare props. So if you do manage to crash your Mavic, or even over time, you're going to get a little bit of wear and tear on the props. Nice that you've got plenty of spares in there. So that's it. The FlyMore combo really does give you pretty much everything that you're going to need to fly your Mavic when you're on the move, when you're at home, and even gives you the ability to charge your mobile phone if you've got a dead battery when you're abroad, and to charge it in the car as well. Really, really nice feature. So a really well featured pack. Let's have a look now at the Mavic. So now on to the best bit, the Mavic. Yay, there it is. What a beautiful bit of kit. So compact, so lightweight, considering just how much technology is packed inside this drone. So a quick look around it. We've got the battery on top. You remember the old DJIs were a pain to get the batteries off. On this one, you just squeezed 2 parts there and off it comes. So nice and easy to remove and also to attach. You've got the folding arms, of course. So these front arms fold out like that. It's like one of those water boatsmen. Do you remember those weird little insects you'd see on a pond? The rear legs don't fold out. Instead, they rotate or kind of pivot like that. So it's quite unusual actually. When you first get the Mavic, that's kind of a bit of a surprise that they pivot out rather than folding out. It weirdly sits in this odd kind of sitting position. You'd expect that it would be sitting flat, but actually it's kind of laid back. That's one of the big problems that people have reported actually. And there are accessories where you can attach additional taller legs onto the rear legs. So we'll fold the arms back in for now. The props, of course, are not secured once the drone arms are folded in. So they do kind of flap around a little bit on the underside, which is not ideal. You could always put a band around it though, of course, or one of those Velcro straps for transporting it. But once it's in its bag, these are not really going to move. On the front, we've got the dome. Now, there is a lot of talk about, oh, it's fine to fly with the dome attached. Don't, because the dome comes off very, very easily. And actually, the more that you attach and detach that dome, the more chance there is of that dome coming off when you're flying it. Not only that, but you also get a lot of glare on your video and your photos, and it just degrades the quality of the pictures massively. So don't fly with the dome on. There's no need to fly with it on. And if you're flying it in conditions where you feel you need to protect the gimbal, then perhaps you shouldn't be flying it at all. Just behind the dome, we've got the sensors. So we've got 2 optical flow cameras, not 1, but 2. We've also got 2 ultrasonic sensors. So the optical flow is basically the VPS system that looks at the ground, photographs it constantly, and tells the drone how to adjust so that it can hover on spot without GPS. Ultrasonic lets the drone know how high up it is. So although it has its onboard barometer and GPS readings for altitude, ultrasonics mean that it can tell if there's a tree beneath it. Whereas of course altitude is not going to tell the drone that. So basically it's almost like an underside obstacle avoidance in some respects. There's 2 little landing feet, slightly rubberized just before that, and that's probably just to avoid the sensors coming into contact with the ground when you land. Looking at the back, there's an LED light panel here, and you'll see on the front arms there are also 2 LED lights. There are no lights on the rear arms, oddly, which is a bit of a shame, I think, because they always looked really nice on the Phantoms, but there is of course that light on the rear instead. Now, one of the great features about Mavic as well is its obstacle avoidance. So these 2 little cameras on the front use a kind of 3D vision, and they basically can determine if you're going to hit something. And of course, then the drone takes evasive action or stops in its path. So really, really clever bit of design there, and great if you're new to drones. Do remember, however, that in sports mode, obstacle avoidance is not enabled. So we're going to unfold the arms now and look at some of the other elements that are hidden behind the arms. An important thing to note, make sure that you unfold the front arms before the rear arms. Otherwise, you can't unfold the front arms. So fold the fronts first and then the rears. And we've now got some additional bits revealed. So on the side here, we've got a tiny little flap, and in there is your USB port, which you're going to use for various elements of communication and also, of course, extracting logs. On the other side, we've got another similar little port, and inside there is a tiny little switch. Now, one nice thing about the Mavic is that you don't need a transmitter to fly it. So this little switch here lets you toggle between Wi-Fi only mode or transmitter mode. So if you don't want to have to carry around the transmitter on a day out, you can just use your smartphone, but do remember that uses Wi-Fi only, therefore the range is limited to about 100 meters. Just below that switch is also an SD card, and it comes with one. Oh, that flew out there. And the SD card it comes with, that's really good. It's a 16 gig SanDisk Extreme. It's a U3 rated class 10 card as well, so it's not a cheap one. That's good. And finally, the most important part is, of course, the gimbal. Absolutely beautiful bit of engineering. Now, when you get the Mavic, it comes shipped with what they call a gimbal lock. And that's this little bit of plastic here, and that's basically just to prevent the gimbal from being damaged during transport. But also, if you are traveling and transporting your Mavic with you, make sure you put the gimbal lock back on just to make sure that the gimbal incurs no damage during transport, because it is a very fragile component. The gimbal is 3-axis. Now, the advantage of a 3-axis gimbal is that when the drone is flying and is rotating on the horizontal axis like this, it means that that movement is stabilized as well, so that you don't get jerky turns. So 3-axis gimbal is definitely the way to go if you're looking for cinematic photography or video output. The camera, of course, is 4K capable, and it's got a number of different settings that you can configure, including RAW output as well, all configurable from the DJI Go app. The motors on the Mavic, of course, are brushless, and they are so small. It's incredible when you consider the speed that this thing can do in sports mode when you look at just how tiny these motors are. So when Mavic ships to you, it comes only with the rear props actually installed. You don't get them installed on the front, so use some of the props that are enclosed in the bag there. But let's unfold one of these legs and have a look at these quick release props, because they are quite clever in terms of the way that you attach and detach them. Rather than screwing anything down, you simply push on the top, twist, and off it comes. It couldn't be easier. Now, the props are color coded as well, so make sure that you put the right prop on the right arm, otherwise your drone is going to have problems. So if we take this one off here, you can see that the color coding is slightly different, and that there is a little colored loop on the prop and on the tops of the motors as well. To put it on, again, just push down and turn. It's so easy. Now, just a note that when you're transporting your Mavic, most of the time you'll be leaving some of the props attached. Always check that the props are securely attached before you take flight, because in your bag they could easily have been pushed down and twisted off. So basically, just make sure that they're all very nice and tight before you actually leave the ground. Now, whilst you can control the Mavic via Wi-Fi, why would you want to when you get this lovely plush transmitter included with it? As I said earlier, it is surprisingly heavy actually when you compare the transmitter to the weight of the actual Mavic itself. I don't think there's a lot in it, but there's a big battery inside here. The battery inside here is not user replaceable. I guess you could open it up and change it if you wanted to, but it's rechargeable. It's a LiPo, a 1-cell, 2,970 milliamps. So it's going to give you a hell of a lot of flight time before that needs recharging anyway. We've got the lovely 5.8 gig antennas on front, and they clip out and fold up like that. They're adjustable in their location, so you can twist them up or down, and it's going to really depend on how you're flying, I guess, and the context of where you're flying as to how you angle those to get the best signal. But they're nice and easy and stow away pretty securely as well, like that. On the top of the transmitter, we've got a record button for starting and stopping video. Then there's a photo button for taking photos. Then, as per the other drones in the DJI range, you've got one rocker switch for the gimbal tilt, which rotates back to the middle, and then this other rocker switch here. On the underside of the transmitter, we've got two buttons. These are programmable, the same as on the old Phantom controllers and other DJI drones as well. On the right-hand side, we've got a button. Now, I like this button. It's called Sports Mode, yay! That lets you fly much faster, but do remember that some of the sensors are disabled when you're doing that. So, for example, you're not going to have any obstacle avoidance when you're flying in sports mode. And on the right hand side, we've got the OTC cable. Now, it comes shipped with a OTC cable for Apple phones. Remember, we got the two spare OTC cables here. So one of them is for USB-C, which is the type of phone that I have. So basically, when you get your transmitter, swap the OTC cable to the relevant one for your smart device that you'll be using. So cable aside, these lovely articulated arms fold out like that, and then they pivot as well. And the idea there is that you sit your smart device inside here, and then you squeeze those shut, and it holds your device nice and firmly in place. Now this is a Samsung S8 Plus, a gigantic mobile phone, and it fits that quite comfortably. But a lot of people do use tablets, and there are some accessories which let you fit a tablet in here as well. Yeah, very nice. And I like the fact as well that you don't need a smart device at all. If you don't want to use your phone, you can simply fly the Mavic via the transmitter alone. But do remember that you're not going to have any visibility of what the drone can see. So taking photos and videos is going to be a little bit of a guesswork. The main controls on the front here are return to home button, nice and easily accessible, which is good. We've got a power button on the right hand side, a pause button. Now that lets you normally pause any of the autonomous flight actions that it's currently taking, such as follow me, for example. So if you think you're about to hit a building, hit pause and it's going to stop. And then you've got this tiny little mini joystick to the right of the screen here. And that mini joystick is to let you navigate the interface on this screen. And then of course the two main control sticks. So generally this is set to mode 2, where you've got throttle and yaw on your left, and on the right hand side you've got your pitch and your roll. And just finally, underneath there is actually a full-size USB port. Now the reason for that is you can fit a longer USB cable into that if you don't want to clip your phone or tablet into the transmitter itself. So for example, you could then put a big tablet in there, hand that tablet to somebody else to watch whilst you're flying. But note that you can't use this USB port and the one underneath at the same time. Your tablet or smart device have to plug into one or the other. So a really nice premium feeling transmitter, really like it. So just how small is the DJI Mavic? Well, I've assembled some little drones that I've reviewed recently, which are in a similar category to Mavic, although a much lower cost. But it's just to get an idea of the scale of things, really. So first of all, here is the Wingsland S6, which is a 4K capable drone. Not particularly stable or reliable at the moment, but the firmware is still changing and evolving. Yeah, I'm not sure if I give that one much hope. Then we have one of my personal favorites, the Dobby from Zerotech. Absolutely brilliant drone, pocket size, not 4K unfortunately, and no ability to tilt the camera remotely, but still a great drone. Then we've got Air Selfie. Wow, this thing looks really small compared to Mavic, doesn't it? Air Selfie is another selfie drone. It's a crowd-funded project actually. I reviewed that one just the other day. You can check that review out on our channel. And then I've got Moment Drone, which is another drone which is foldable. Now that one looks like a gigantic beast compared to Mavic, especially when it's unfolded, but hopefully this is useful to give you an idea of the scale of all of these different drones. So with all of the drones extended to their full size when you're going to be flying them, you can see the difference between each of these aircraft. Clearly Mavic is the biggest, and when it's all compacted and folded down, it's not the smallest, but it is certainly very compact and portable. So that's the end of part 1, and hopefully you now feel much more confident about your drone and its accessories. In part 2, we'll show you how to get the Mavic ready for its first flight, so click that subscribe button now so that you don't miss it. Give this video a thumbs up and do comment below with your thoughts and questions. Also, if you're not already a member, join our DJI Mavic support group on Facebook. We even have a special training section which will help you to get even more out of your Mavic. Links are in the video description. Thanks very much for watching.